All right, today we're going to talk about something, something that's a little personal and often pretty hard to put into words. We're diving into this powerful idea called the safety net of thorns. So let's just jump right in with a question. And I'll admit, it might hit a little close to home for some of you. Have you ever had that feeling of being completely stuck in a life that on paper is supposed to be safe?
You know what I mean, right? It could be that stable job that you absolutely dread waking up for every morning. Or maybe it's that predictable relationship that, well, it just seems to drain you more than it fills you up. It could even be a daily routine that provides security, for sure, but there's just no real joy in it. These are exactly the kinds of situations we're talking about.
Okay, so let's start by digging into that really familiar feeling of being stuck. And the thing is, from the outside looking in, everything seems totally fine. You're functioning, the bills are getting paid, you're showing up where you're supposed to. There's no big dramatic crisis for everyone to point at. And then, whenever you even think about making a change, that little voice pops into your head, doesn't it? The one that whispers, but at least this is safe. It feels like the voice of reason, of responsibility. But what does that safety actually mean? Well, that question leads us to a crucial turning point, the moment when that so-called safety actually starts to hurt. Now, we all know what a safety net is supposed to be. It's a system, a structure, designed to catch us, to protect us from a total collapse. It's all about predictability and security. And that sounds like a great thing. It's supposed to be. But here's the real turning point, the big question. What happens if the very thing that's meant to protect you is also the source of your pain? What if the safety net itself is what hurts? This is where the expectation of what safety should be just completely breaks from reality. We expect some kind of passive support, right? But what we actually experience is constant strain. We hope for a gentle catch, but instead, staying put has this active daily cost. And instead of feeling protected, we just feel endured. And this brings us right to the core metaphor for all of this, the safety net of thorns. The source material puts it so perfectly, and it's such a powerful image. Some safety nets are made of thorns. Think about that. They hold you up, yes, but they do it by poking and cutting into you. So how does a thing like this even work? Well, it's kind of like a three-step process. First, and this is the really tricky part, it actually does its job. It prevents a free fall. It stops you from hitting rock bottom. But second, at the same time, it's inflicting this incremental harm, little wounds over time from this quiet, steady pressure. And third, the very structure that's holding you up is also the thing that makes it so hard to climb out. It restricts your mobility. This kind of harm is described as a slow bleeding. And that's perfect, isn't it? It's not one big injury. It's a quiet loss of confidence, a subtle dulling of your curiosity about the world. It's that gradual erosion of energy that no amount of sleep can seem to fix. And maybe the hardest part is that there's no single moment of damage you can point to and say, that's when it all started. And all of this leads to this absolutely paralyzing paradox. You get stuck in this strange middle ground. You're not in enough immediate danger to justify taking a huge, desperate leap, but you're also not in a safe enough place to actually rest and heal. You're just held there. Being held in a space like that, it brings a heavy weight. And it leads to some really profound questions we start to carry with us. Do you start to ask yourself this really fundamental question? Can I still call this a safety net if the price of that safety is constant low-grade injury? At what point does protection just become a form of containment? And then you have to ask yourself about your own limits. How much of this slow bleeding is acceptable? Is it just the normal cost of being a responsible adult? Or has it crossed a line into something that's truly depleting your vitality? And this might be the hardest question of all. How do you possibly measure the cost of staying, this tangible pain you feel every day, against the complete unknown of leaving? It's a calculation that simple logic just can't solve. So, with all these heavy questions, where does that leave us? Well, it leads us to a really powerful way to reframe this whole struggle. And that's our final section, the idea that awareness is a quiet strength. If any of this is resonating with you, please hear this. Just noticing the thorns, just being aware of them is not an act of betrayal. It's not being ungrateful for what you have. It is a profound act of attentiveness. It means you are finally listening to your own experience over the story you feel you're supposed to be living. And what's more, there is no single brave path forward here. Choosing to stay carefully, to minimize the harm while you weigh your options and gather your strength, that is an absolutely valid choice. And choosing to start climbing out because the cost of staying has just become too high, that is also an absolutely valid choice. Neither one is inherently better or braver than the other. And maybe that's the most important takeaway here. Before any action, before any big decision, sometimes the most powerful, most important first step is to simply name the thorns, to just acknowledge their presence and their effect on you without any judgment.
In that act of naming, well, that's something that can feel a lot less lonely when we do it together. So let's join the conversation. If this explainer resonated with you at all, please consider sharing your thoughts in the comments. Is this an experience you recognize? You never know who might read your comment and feel a little less alone. To help others find this discussion, please give this explainer a like and share it. And of course, for more content like this, we'd love for you to subscribe. We post daily shorts and frequent videos. You can also find more of our work by following us on Instagram and Facebook or by visiting our webpage. The contents for this explainer were created by Beneath Ghosh. Thank you so much for your time and attention today.